Hi, welcome to the Second Rainbow Coalition Reading Group. We are reading Voices of the Revolution by Johnny Torres. Today we will be kicking things off with the Second Rainbow Coalition Statement of Unity. Comrade Shanti, you have the floor.
Thank you, comrade. Preface. The U.S. was founded as a colonial settler state based upon white supremacy and slavery, stealing the lands of the indigenous nations, breaking every treaty made with them, and confining them to so-called reservations or concentration camps. As the country became more powerful, the eagle sunk its claws into other nations, making war on Mexico and grabbing its northern territory, invading Cuba, Puerto Rico, Hawaii, and the Philippines, and either annexing them outright or making them colonies or neo-colonies. And in the 20th century, it became the major imperialist power in the world, exploiting both the people within its boundaries and those in every other country, bullying them with military interventions and robbing them of their right to self-determination. As Huey P. Newton stated, we have two enemies to fight, racism and capitalism. Between the two, capitalism is primary. Racism is a byproduct of capitalism. The working people of the world, of every ethnicity or nationality, face a common enemy that is destroying life on Earth. What? The working people of the world, of every ethnicity or nationality, face a common enemy that is destroying life on Earth. Our enemy is a small ruling class of property owners controlling most of the world's wealth and resources. We must have our basic needs met to live a good and meaningful life: food, shelter, healthcare, and education, freedom from oppression by the state, and peace with other nations. To obtain these essential things for life, we must have the power to see to it that the abundance that is available is shared equally. Statement of Unity for the Second Rainbow Coalition. The legacy of the First Rainbow Coalition dates back to its founding on April 4th, 1969, by the original Black Panther Party, original Young Lords, and Young Patriots organization. A number of other organizations joined this coalition not too long afterwards, such as the American Indian Movement, Brown Berets, Rising Up Angry, the Red Guards, and others. Since the founding of the United States, the masses have developed a number of popular movements that came together to fight back against this capitalist imperialist system in various ways around particular demands. Nevertheless, none had established a movement quite like the First Rainbow Coalition. This historic movement was the first of its kind that established a model of class struggle like no other. Its charismatic leader, Chairman Fred Hampton of the Illinois chapter of the original Black Panther Party, stated that at the end of the day, we weren't engaged in a so-called race struggle. He said that it's a class struggle, God damn it. By uniting with the various oppressed ethnicities and masses, they were able to bridge the gap between the various ethnic communities that white supremacy had long sought to keep divided. This class solidarity equipped them with the material basis and the class consciousness to see their common class condition, therefore the necessity to form a united front against their common class oppressor, the capitalist imperialist ruling class. The ruling class viewed this as the greatest threat to their class rule, and subsequently used their entire repressive forces of the state, police, courts, jails, prisons, and intelligence agencies, etc., in order to crush this emerging revolutionary socialist movement. We refounded the Rainbow Coalition on May 14th, 2021, with the intent of upholding the legacy of the original Rainbow Coalition. We believe that this historic example is the model for the united front that will best serve our class liberation. By upholding the 10-point program of the original Black Panther Party, which was subsequently adopted and later expanded by the original Young Lords, Young Patriots organization, and all other original Rainbow Coalition members, we established our programmatic unity. The 6 disciplinary rules that we uphold ties all organizations in our coalition to a common professional discipline. History has bestowed upon our generation a common class mission to fulfill. The representatives of the capitalist imperialist ruling class, represented by the Democratic Party and Republican Party, cannot liberate us. It is their class oppression, intention, and interest to uphold our common class oppression. Therefore, it is only we, the oppressed masses of all ethnicities and nationalities who must build necessary class solidarity, class consciousness, organizational structures, and a united front that will ultimately liberate ourselves. This is what the Second Rainbow Coalition is committed to. This is the historic mission we intend to fulfill. Dare to struggle, dare to win. Hashtag all power to the people. Hashtag boots on the ground. All members of the coalition include the New African Black Panther Party, the White Panther Party, the Green Party of New Jersey, the Poor People's Army, La Mesa Nacional de Brown Berets, NASO or North Alabama School for Organizers, the New Era Young Lords, and the American Indian Movement Northeast Woodland Chapter. The 6 disciplinary rules. 1. Members will conduct themselves in a manner to bring credit to the coalition and will treat others with respect and politeness. 2. Members will be sober when on Rainbow Coalition business and will not engage in any criminal activity while a member. 3. No member will engage in violence except in the extremity of self-defense. 4. Members will not gossip nor be divisive to the unity of the Second Rainbow Coalition. 5. Members will not act as informers nor work against the purpose of the Second Rainbow Coalition. And 6. Nobody is authorized to speak for the Second Rainbow Coalition unless authorized to do so. And that is the statement of unity.
Awesome. Thank you, comrade. So can everyone see that okay?
Yes.
Yeah.
Awesome. History class. I am sitting in my history class. The teacher begins a rapping. I am sitting in my history class. I am at the verge of napping. The Pilgrims landed at Plymouth Rock. Tell me more, tell me more. George Washington crossed the Delaware. I've heard it all before. A la chingada madre mia, did I hear the teacher say, George? Washington is my father with confidence and strength. I slowly raised my mano. If George Washington is my father, why isn't he Chicano? Lorenzo Flores.
That was good.
That was cool. That was cool. I can give him that.
I fucking dig it. Oh, that was awesome. There he is. Hey, Johnny, do you have any background on him?
Lorenzo, yes, he's the prime minister over there in I believe Albuquerque, Mexico. And I met him a couple of times. He's very interesting, very wise. He's been in the movement for like many years. What he told me when he was a teenager, when he was raised in California in East LA, he was doing activism like probably when he was 14, and now he's the prime minister of the Brown Berets over there in Albuquerque. So he's a very down-to-earth person. According to him, he has written a lot of poetry like this, just never been published or probably never seen the light of day. He says he has like composition books full of poems, and he wrote twice in the book, the poem that we just read now, and he wrote a poem about V. Ramirez in the beginning of the memorial page. And then he wrote another 3 poems in the new book and the new anthology that's coming up in winter. So I mean, like, he's a very interesting guy. I'm pretty sure if y'all met him, he would definitely give y'all lots of wisdom. That's for sure.
That's what's up. Thank you, comrade.
Yeah, of course.
Joe, I see you got your hand up. What's up, comrade?
Yes, just to speak positive about Lorenzo, an awesome brother. He actually lives in Las Vegas, New Mexico, and born and raised there. And I know he's got over 50 years also in the movement, but I know he is suffering from a brain tumor now. So it's really hard for him to stay active and stuff like that. But we this year we did a thing in Albuquerque, an event in Albuquerque, which is really positive. But yeah, he's getting up there in years, and he's in a wheelchair, but still, even in his wheelchair, he's still active. So just a solid brother all the way around, and that's all.
Awesome. Thank you, comrade. Who would like to take a turn reading next?
I'll take the turn.
Go for it, comrade Shay. Thank you.
Being that I've been a warrior for a long time, I truly believe my purpose in life is to be a warrior for our gente. I didn't always knew it like this growing up. However, my life has taken many turns, and honestly, it took me almost 40 years to really begin to learn who I am, where I come from, and whom I was always meant to be. First of all, I believe it's important to explain that I am a mixed Puerto Rican, Taino, plus a Black father and white Chicano mother. I was raised by my white Native American mother and had no contact with my Puerto Rican side of my family. Outside of my abuela, due to my brown skin, name, and facial features, I dealt with endless racism growing up. I was at best tolerated by white people. You know what I'm saying? But I was best tolerated by white people, if not ignored. At worst, the target for emotional and physical abuse. However, I never allowed myself to be bullied, and I never lost a physical fight. Good for you, brother. Although I might have come to a tie a couple of times, I grew up with the concept of hurt them 3 times as much as they hurt you, and they will be too scared to fuck with you again. While most white people rejected me, I did have a few close and wonderful white friends, and it was Mexican and Chicano community that really embraced me, treated me as family. I spent most of my childhood immersed in the Chicano community, the culture that I am most familiar with and the one closest to my heart. Chicanos are the only people who made me feel human compared to all the white people who made me feel like a little monster. I will never forget what our community did and is still doing for me. So I have dedicated myself to furthering the Chicano people and our movement. That does not mean that I have disregarded my Puerto Rican, Taino, or Chickasaw heritage, nor do I deny my white ancestry. I do, however, refuse to identify with my own ancestry because throughout my life, those people assured me that I was never one of them, be it in words, action, or body language. So I say my blood may be Puerto Rican, white, Black, and Chickasaw, but my heart is Chicano. While I did grow up in Chicano community, it was much different experience than my Chicanos had grown up. Back in 1983, my 2-year-old self moved with my family to North Carolina to a small city named Rock Mount. It was mostly suburban area at the edge of country, areas where most mixture of uppity whites and rednecks, as well as decent sized Black community. A Chicano community I grew up in was primarily a mixture of migrants from Mexico, Guatemala, and a few Chicano families from from LA. Some of those families had upgraded from working in the fields to places like factory accounts or construction jobs, while others remained working the field. Some recently arrived from LA area due to a cheaper cost of living and probably to keep their kids off the streets and out of gangs. My mom used to teach English as a second language in the camps and take me with her back in the day. I got to see how people lived there, which was quite heartbreaking. Also, the community was much less established here around the early 80s as they are today. There wasn't even one Tex-Mex restaurant when my family first moved here. I'm not here, not to mention any tiendas, carnicerias, taco trucks, or panaderias. There are several now. So all the real Mexican food I grew up on was home cooked by the various families who took me in. Some of those recipes were passed down to me, although needless to say, I hope I managed to paint a picture of how a few of us existed then, so that you can imagine the extreme racism and discrimination we daily face. At 15 years of age, I was introduced to some cholos whose family had moved from LA. By the age of 16, they had pretty much indoctrinated me into the circle. We most definitely weren't gang bangers. There were no real gangs when I was growing up, contrary to how it presently is in Rocky Mount. We mostly just party and went cruising on the weekends and picked fights with rednecks at City Lake. The worst some did was sell cocaine, but those were the older ones. My point is that this was the first time I felt carnalismo, real brotherhood. It was also the first time I felt proud to be brown. At 18, I finally started to admit to myself that I was sexually attracted to men, and which had been something I denied to myself since the age of 12. I wrote a letter about it to my best friend, Caesar, at the time and gave it to him one night when we got really drunk at his Chicano house. He totally accepted me, but the next morning his sister found the letter and confronted him, threatening to tell their mother, who was extremely homophobic, as we were all mutual friends. So that's when Caesar told me that we couldn't be friends anymore because he didn't want others to think he too was gay. This really broke my heart and gave me somewhat of a fear complex to come out to people, even to this day. But I forced myself to do it anyway. I am proud of being two-spirit now. Also, Caesar and I reconnected years ago and are close friends again. All has been forgotten. Shortly after that, I moved the fuck out and tried to never look back at that shitty little town full of racism, just tried to get far away, which led me to a turkey factory, which I spent most time in a new Chicano community, again, falling in with other cholos. Still very much in the closet, I might add. That's when I got the nickname Chivo, due to my long goatee. I bounced around from dead end jobs throughout various cities, all the while staying deep in the brown community. Eventually, I came back home, finished my adult school diploma, and moved out to Raleigh and started school at digital art school. I graduated, but ended up not doing anything with it because all the jobs in in North Carolina. For that required 4 years of experience, and I didn't have money to move out of state just to find a paid internship internship somewhere else where I didn't have family to support. So I moved on to other things and eventually fell into the world of it. I also repaired computers for the Chicano community, their homes and various stores. During this time, I started doing my now Puerto Rican ex of 14 years. I was 26 years old, and he really started reimmersing me in my Puerto Rican culture, talking together, taking numerous trips to Puerto Rico to visit our mutual family. He at first really disliked Mexicans, or that I spent a lot of time with them, and that I dressed cholo style. He really didn't like other Puerto Ricans and never displayed the flag. Though he did cook a lot of Puerto Rican food. We did change a few years. He did change a few years later after getting to know my Mexican friends. Eventually, I felt pressured to his influence or not to stop dressing cholo style. I found myself spending more time in the gay community, which with his family then, and with his family then within the Chicano community. In 2014, I had ex, existential crisis, basically an emotional breakdown where I reflected on my life, where I was. That got me there, and how I was so unhappy with whom I had become. Realizing that I was just living for financial gains and didn't even care for the feel of it. I needed to find something of more meaning in my life, as well as finding a career that I truly wanted. I started reading Don Miguel Ruiz's books on Talek wisdom that began helping me to find my true self, inspired me to start looking more into my indigenous roots and began dressing cholo style again, despite what my ex wanted. Those books helped me understand that because of fear of rejection, I had not been true to myself and where I come from simply to make my partner happy, which was all self-imposed. As a kid, growing up in the Mexican Chicano community, I identify as Chicano, but by meeting my ex, I started feeling that I was betraying my Puerto Rican heritage. Not to mention that since I hit my mid-20s, I lost my brown skin and had grown very pale. My skin color, my lack of fluent Spanish, combined with my identity crisis, began to make me feel very insecure as I wasn't Latino. I now rejected the term entirely. In 2019, a trip to LA reawakened all my childhood memories, and I loved of my Chicano culture. It made me remember that what I had been missing for so many years. I realized at that point where I had gone wrong. I had somehow, not completely, of course, forgotten my culture, becoming just another system slave. That trip to LA, however, made me realize that while I do love my Puerto Rican culture, it still feels somewhat foreign to me compared to the Chicano culture in which I grew up in. So I decided to go to therapy as by this point. I began dealing with an identity crisis about who I was. I located a female therapist who was half Colombian and half Puerto Rican. She really helped me realize that my insecurities were self-imposed based on external validation. She also helped me to understand that heritage isn't only DNA, it's what passed down to them. It was all the experiences of Mexican families that had taken me in and had shared their holidays, church, cultural events, cameras, carnicerias, weddings, you name it. That was passing down their heritage to me, still consider me family to this day. That is the beauty of our people, how warm, loving, and inviting they are, making a little mixed Puerto Rican kid feel loved. After that, I was determined to reconnect with my Hassa in much stronger way. And that's when I discovered that the Brown Berets were still around. After joining those Brown Berets in 2020, I got even deep into my indigenous roots and have since really started working, walking the red road and learning and practicing Mexicana spirituality. I also finally woke up and realized that my Hassa are the same people as other First Nations of North America. We had just been colonized in different ways by a variety of European colonists. Even a lot of our old traditions are very similar. Oh, that's good. I, I am also a proud follower of La Santerisma, Muerte as a protective motherly figure. Shortly after joining Los Brown Berets, she gave me a connection with 3 other followers in my unit that helped me that helped teach me even more about her. And then I got a big taboo on my left arm. One time, she gave me a vision. Parts of my childhood flashed before my eyes in rapid succession. All were of the injustices I went through growing up in the racist South. Injustices I saw our people experience, the loving memories of the various Mexican Chicano families that share their lives with me. Even my digital education that I have never did anything professional with, which now I was using for La Causa, creating flyers and videos for the Brown Berets to support our gente. In short, he was showing me that I have been placed in those situations to forgive me, to force me into becoming a warrior for our people. Because without growing up where I had, I would have never had a full understanding of the experience I needed to choose the path of the Brown Berets. I have now made it one of my goals to educate our gente that we are indigenous and we need to combine forces with other First Nation relatives. While we may have some different struggles, such as immigration and language barrier, we still suffer many of the same hate crimes and injustices. That's true. The goal of colonizers is to separate our power by tricking us into believing that we are different people with different cultures. The original reason why our people continue to be shit on is because our brown skin comes from our indigenous ancestors whom they enslaved, and why our people still enslaved. Just look at immigration laws and the for-profit prison industrial complex. I am also very spiritual, not religious at all. I also follow the path of the curandero, which I have been knowingly practicing like many of our ancestors since I was 16. Joining those brown berets has introduced me to other curanderos who have taught me even more than I knew before, which I continue to learn on the red road. Joining those brown berets has been immensely healing for me on so many levels. And to everyone out there who is of mixed heritage, culture, mixed, just remember that all of us are mixed race. We are all a mixture of at least some white, Spanish is also considered white, and indigenous, and some black also. Some of our ancestors were the colonizers who raped, enslaved, and committed genocide against others of our ancestors. So it is no wonder why many of us have that identity crisis. Now that I have traveled the red road, I have learned from a lot of indigenous people that our identity does not matter. Choosing to identify with your indigenous ancestors is taking a brave stand on fighting for our people. Don't let anyone tell you who you are. I live by the motto, no soy de aquí, ni soy de allá. I am not from here, nor am I from there. One day I will get this tattoo stretching straight from my forearm to the other I am white, I am black, I am Puerto Rican, I am Taino, I am Chico, I am Chicano, I am indigenous. This is one of the reasons I have Chimera tattoo on my paranasota, paranasota, large belly. Ha ha ha. Now I know the means of to my oppression were all lies. I learned that the only truth is your own most sacred lesson. I know we are free. Testament of Metal Brand, whose leader is Mexicano and Promo Native American. Don't be afraid to claim and explore your indigenous roots. Decolonize your mind. Together we can stand united and make a difference in the quality of life to our gente. Viva la raza, viva la causa. I can't pronounce that name. Brown Beret. That was good. That was a good one, man. That was really good. I'm glad that he finally realized that. You know, I enjoyed reading it. It was really, really inspiring and awakening because I too, you know, for a long time, man, you know, I come from having an African mother who's Jamaican and a Puerto Rican father, you know, and I for a long time I just denied my black roots, and I looked at my complexion, and I always thought that I was white until one day, man, in the Panther Party, they woke, they woke me up. They woke me up and told me who I was. So it's true, man. We come, you know, Puerto Ricans come from a mixture of black, uh, well, African, you know, Taino, and Spanish, and maybe French and a little Jewish. So, you know, we're a mixture of a lot of things.
Yep.
I was in a bar one night in Puerto Rico, and I was drinking with this person who was next to me, and I asked him, you know, because he looked European to me, and I asked him, where you from? And he said, well, I was raised in New York, but I'm from Puerto Rico. I was born here. And I said, yeah, you Puerto Rican? He said, no, I'm Jewish. I looked at him, I said, what? You Jewish? And you Puerto Rican? That was the first time they woke me up. You know, I said, you Jewish or you Puerto Rican? No, that can't be. You know, but it's like that. You know, it's like that. You know, our race, our nationalities have been mixed, and that's part of colonialism anyway. So
Yeah, a lot of people don't realize how many Jewish people moved to the islands. Next, Gabby is Cuban and Jewish.
yeah,
You know, it's just one of those beautiful parts of the entire rainbow of humanity.
yeah, 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 yeah.
And, this is the comrade that joined us towards the end of Friday's reading group. I wish you would have been able to make it here today to
Yeah.
this with us. Comrade
I'll let
Rob,
him know. We read his
Yeah.
story.
No, just want to say thank you, Chef, for reading that. I know Lobo and known him for a couple of years now. This guy is incredible. He's a leader, and actually he's part of the trifecta of La Mesa Nacional for the Brown Berets. And now he's been chosen as a representative for the Rainbow Coalition. So he'll be replacing, I think, either myself or Yola, one of the two. But this brother has come a long ways in his development. I'm proud of his leadership more than anything. And yeah, the whole story of mixed heritage, that's a common one for many people.
Yeah.
That's and it's a powerful one too. So yeah, I'm glad we read it. I wish he would have been here. That's right.
does anybody else have any input on that one before we move into the next piece?
Yeah, I do. First of all, Shay, I didn't know you were half Jamaican. I'm like, okay. I had no idea that you were half Jamaican. And I didn't even know until you just said it. I was like, really? Really?
Yeah,
I
I'm
was
half
like,
Jamaican. I'm half Jamaican. I'm
okay,
very
like
proud of it too. Very proud of it. So somebody tells me, it's a minute, especially over here in Dominican Republic, they say, no, you're not Jamaican. I said, yeah, well, you're not Dominican either. You know, you're not Dominican. If I ain't Jamaican, you ain't Dominican.
oh yeah. Oh yeah. Now I'm definitely seen. I'm definitely seen now. Okay. I just want to get that out of the way. I definitely love this, the intersection of, identity and sexuality, like, that's a very, very big thing. And, with him being African, and Chickasaw, and, making it very clear to, not be scared of your indigenous roots, of your indigenous identity, and reclaiming it and rediscovering it is very, very crucial. Once again, I mean, we all know this. Like, it's very, very important for every Chicano to reconnect with where they come from because this is their homeland. So, it's a lot of decolonization that needs to take place on top of them rediscovering their actual roots, their actual identity. And, with him also being of African heritage, once again, we have, there's a lot of mixed people around in some way. And so, to not have that shame of reclaiming our real identity, of our real roots, and on top of that, being queer, like that's another aspect of it, not being ashamed of being all those things on top of being queer, on top of being trans, on top of, defying the bourgeois concept of, gender, the gender binary, heteronormativity, cis normativity, defying the odds of the bourgeois construct of all those things, gender and sexuality. It's very, very important, especially in the movement, because now it's where, we have no excuse to, keep queer and trans people at the forefront because it's a very, very important aspect of our struggle and our movement because, we have been stripped of our gender fluidity and our sexual fluidity for years when we were first colonized. And, all these constructs of gender being put on us, it's very, very crucial to put that queerness aspect, that transness aspect in the forefront because that is an important aspect of our struggle. So I'm very, very glad for this section because, once again, these are things that should be brought into the light. And I'm glad that, he brought all of it in.
Indeed. Yeah, he painted a very beautiful picture there of what intersectionality really consists of. Love it. It's moving. Who would like to take a turn reading next?
I'll read this one.
Go ahead, Comrade. Thank you.
Las semillas olvidades. How does one define freedom? By securing borders and incarcerating children. What exactly does it mean to be free? To enslave toddlers, infants, pregnant mothers, and the elderly? The notion of liberty and justice for all seems like a gimmick, if you ask me. Most of our people are locked behind the walls, while white faces determine what the judgment will be. Caged like feral beasts, a threat to a weak white Eurocentric society, foreign savages rooted in diabolical beliefs, ripping apart indigenous families to retain their white supremacy, holding a false sense of entitlement based on white lies. The Anglo only value the desires and needs of their own kind. First Nations children of the sun do not matter in their eyes. For precarious brown semillas hold the keys to their demise. Should be precious, sorry, for precious. So politics and policy exploit our brown seeds using our taxes, collusion, politricks, and misappropriation of funds to finance their deceit. Operation Streamline is sentencing toddlers to prison throughout Aslan as we speak. So where are their protests and marches? Or is their sacred brown skin no longer worthy? We are tired of the stagnant complacency. Why do we need more reason to rise up and resist? Forget assimilating and begging the status quo for crumbs. You cannot reason peace with those who only speak violence. Negotiations with those who rape our earth, commodify our animal relatives, and disregard the indigenous resistance. Depletes our energy and dumbs down our higher intelligence. It's always folks turning a blind eye who have the most to say. All the bark, not a word about kids in ICE. Being molested, raped, beaten, assaulted in traffic every single day. Not a thought, not a peep, nor direct action from these opportunists. The movement is meant for liberation of children and all First Nations, and it's not an individual spotlight for performative activists. Focus on the babies, their liberation, and need to speak must be a collective effort to smother the beast. A true liberation from bondage is what brown children need, an initiation to fulfill the eagle and the condor prophecy. For it is the brown child exploited in the agricultural fields, on reservations, and in the barrios. It is their labor and innocence which endure the most blows. Treading between multiple worlds, while maintaining consciousness in an imperialistic insanity, natural traditions, culture, and narrative erased, creating subjugation with a false America reality. How can the indigenous brown mothers lay pregnant in ice, shackled through labor to a bed? Imagine pushing life through your womb in a system dedicated to pronouncing indigenous semillas dead. As a woman and mother, I cannot fathom. The only emotion I feel is disgust. The womb continues to be commodified globally. Protect yourself, sisters, with a peace you can trust. Do not seek refuge in a failing empire where brown bodies are discarded like trash. Expendable is fallacy. White America sells in response to land back. Numerous indigenous children missing in ICE. Thousands of graves of kids buried under residential schools. Countless legal rapes on reservations. The colony cannot adhere to its own rules. The highest law of the land is disregarded. Numerous treaties ignored. Assimilation through education and indoctrination are tactics and tools implemented by force. Indigenous children, brave, beautiful, and sacred, will regain control over their ancestral homelands. It's not a matter of if, but when this will happen. So I leave you with this thought to ponder and think. How would you respond if that was your child in a cell? If it was your mother, sister, tia, abuela, or family? Would the humanity in you listen, care, or take time to check your privilege? Would you reflect, unlearn, disconnect, decolonize, match your feet with your mouth to rid these kids from bondage? One thing is for certain, repeated by the U.S. indefinitely: kill the Indian, save the man, is a foundation based on ethnic cleansing. Eugenics, birth in America and spread by a disease globally, kidnap, deport, rape, sterilize, murder, incarcerate, using the church and illegitimate laws as justification for the perverse abuse of authority. This has always been a brown continent and will remain a red nation. Facts based on basic world geography and biology, indisputable even with logical persuasion. First Nation women, and kids stay susceptible to violence within the world's largest police state. Brown voices are silent. Can you define true freedom, justice, and liberty? Where does the brown child fit in a system designed for another entity? Brown skin, beautiful as the dirt of our sacred Mother Earth, should not produce a self-hate fallacy, descendants of warriors, healers, intellectuals, artists, astronomers. This is the brown reality. The brown womb is the biggest threat to white supremacy. Our brown children will thrive and never be just a memory. So I asked this last time and possibly indefinitely, on which side of history will you choose to be? Protect the sacred, free the kids by any means necessary. Tina Marie, Comandante de los Northern Califas, Brown Berets.
Right. Photo, yeah. Got a photo of her here.
Just Tina Marie is a friend of, I've known her for several years. She's passionate and she's real. She's boots on the ground. And we read about Al Rojas not long ago. Al, she was his personal security prior to him passing away. And she was there for, I think, 8 solid years, and we've done work together. So this poem touches me because I know she actually has gone into incarcerations where people are actually living, has traveled and seen in other nations around in where they live, and looked around and actually found evidence of the abuse and had writes about it. So what you see is what you get. She's real. And she's passionate about it when it comes to, especially for the women and the children.
I can see that. I mean, how she literally like painted a picture in my head, describing everything there, down to the woman giving birth while chained to a cot. It's fucked up, the things that ICE are doing in these concentration camps. I don't know what else to call them. It's what they are.
Wow.
Horrendous that we
That's
still it's in cages.
that's what I've been calling them since they opened.
Mm-hmm. It's what they are. Jailing babies.
Mhm.
Well, they've been doing that, man, since the creation of colonialism. They've been doing that. You know, it just didn't started. They've been doing that all over the world, jailing babies, killing babies, raping babies. You know, they've been doing that all over the world. You know, so I read a piece where it says that that capitalism cannot be reformed. It needs to be destroyed, needs to be annihilated and replaced with socialism. It's the only way. You know, there's no hope for this country. None. No hope for none of its people, you know, people meaning the colonists all over the world. There's no hope for them. They need to be annihilated, just like they annihilated us.
This system is nothing but the enemy.
That's it.
Comrade Joe, I see you got your hand up. Go ahead.
Yes, and I'm gathering she probably wrote this a couple years ago, but we still got to keep it into light that there's still kids in cages as we speak today.
Yeah.
And how come we're not all of us are doing more about that? I know we made a strong presence about it in the past, but it's kind of like kind of went stagnant, and we still need to draw attention to that. And I like the way she also puts a lot of indigenous feelings and thoughts into this writing, and then bringing out the eagle and the condor prophecy, working together all throughout Turtle Island. And I wanted to say Also, she did support me on an event, a rally I did last year for Leonard Peltier, and she did go with boots on the ground for that event, and I was really grateful for that. So another solid sister. That's all.
So, thank you, comrade. Comrade Andy, I see you got your hand up.
Yeah, I think that the what Jose just mentioned, that this ongoing problem that's creating suffering, more suffering at the border, and then in Chicago, and then in every city where they're busing thousands and thousands of immigrants, that the government is washing its hands of it, building detention centers, building concentration camps. All these kinds of things are going on. And one of the reasons that we can't effectively do anything against it is because of it basically becomes down to lack of organization that's really, really tied to the situation. So that it's like in Chicago, they're really using it in a divisive manner. And one of the young lords from Chicago talked to this the other day on a Zoom call, but they're really, really trying to and effectively they're managing to divide Black and brown people and any people in the city around this issue of all these people coming here. What are we going to do with them? And the mayor and the city council, who just gave themselves raises, 25,000 for the mayor, 20,000 per council person, and those are the city fathers you're appealing to do something. They're not going to. That's why, like when we say that there's no reform left, then you have to begin to organize your own bodies to go down there, to go up on them, to be in the neighborhoods, to be talking these issues with people who may not right away agree with you. We put a flyer out this past Saturday at the Healing Corner, which is mostly like poor people from the West Side who come, to enjoy a little Halloween festivities and stuff. But we always try to put something in their hands and get in conversations with them, because that's where it's at. I'll shut up, but I think that this on ground propaganda arm of every group has got to be strengthened. When we go out to support Palestine, then at a mass demonstration, those issues pertain to the people in our communities. They have to understand why Palestine is their future. That's Gaza is their future. That's why they're building all these cop cities. That's why they're not backing down. Then that's why they're not giving us. In fact, they're taking away the things that we need. So we have to make those connections for people. My experience recently has been that's pretty easy. People get it. I talked to young suburban father and a young Black father from the hood. They both were talking the same thing. They seen how the what they're doing in Gaza, mass murder, genocide, is what they're going to do to all the working class people they don't need. So it's definitely time to up the ante on our propaganda, because this ain't going away.
Well said, comrade. Thank you. Shay, I'd seen you pop your hand up a moment ago.
Yeah, I just want to basically say that as we concentrate on the kids that are in concentration camps, let's also concentrate on the sisters that are in prison, who are pregnant, and they're going to lose their children because they don't have no one outside who's going to take care of them. So they take those children away from their mothers and put them where? In shelters, put them up for adoptions, and there's a lot of sisters, that are undergoing those experiences. So let's also keep that in mind, that, as we talk about children in concentration camps, we also going to we need to consider that there's mothers in prisons, doing time and are pregnant. And once they once they have the babies, it's taken away from them and put in shelters, man. So they lose their babies. And what happened to those babies? Who did they grow up with? The same as indigenous children, man, when they were taken from their families and put in schools where there was abuses and all kinds of tortures, and what have you. It's the same situation.
It is. And it's fucking heartbreaking. Does anyone else want to take a turn reading? This is our last poem for the day.
I'll read it.
Go ahead, Conrad.
All right. Laugh now. What's your plan when the shit hits the fan? When you can't find a plane or a boat to get off of this land? Will you swim or throw your back against the wall up in Maine? I'm just saying, they're coming after anyone with a brain. If you think of yourself about distribution of wealth or how this country is going under, you will end up in their cells, surrounded by men with guns. Just focus on one. Take a look in his eyes and see just what he's become. No longer like you. Now he's more like a tool than a person for the elite to divide and rule. I don't care who he was or who he used to be. He's no longer a person, now just my enemy. When I say fuck the police, I mean fuck the police, no sympathy. Well, see them dead in the streets, we'll all be taken aside, we'll all be making a choice. Some have made theirs already. Some are using our voice to condemn all of them who pretend that everything will be fine. When your middle class suburbia ends, what will you do? And to with who? What would you do to make sure that you and yours makes it through these hard times? Could this be the end of times, revolution and apocalypse at the same time? And I'm not sure which I'm fighting for. If crashing the gate fails, let's crash the back door. We need to act more. All we do now is react poor. Like Greece, the visions from the future attack more. The institutions we hate. We can create a new fate. Fuck the state. Let's work together and watch their control. Let's work together and watch their control. Let's work together and watch their control disintegrate. Control will disintegrate. Adam Wolfson.
What's up? I dig it.
That's cool.
Well,
I don't know Adam, but maybe Johnny does.
Yeah, I know him. He's like, so that poem is really a song, and since he like wrote about songs about the police and the among other things, I told him if he can put one of the songs inside the book, and I gotta admit it was cool. It was rhymey, and it was something that we were looking for the anthology, and it definitely was really good. It was a powerful song, and now it transformed into a poem. So I hope everyone liked it.
yeah, that was pretty dope. He's got some skills there for writing. Anybody else have any input about this one here? Don't everybody all talk at
Yeah,
once?
I did want to say one little thing about it. I think that, like, I've been on different, taking different positions over the years on different forms of rock and roll and music, and I'm basically real open to most anything. I think, however, that we have to look at some stuff as like reflecting how broken this society is and how painful it is. I mean, it's hard for me to read this expression in this poem because it's heartbreaking. You know, how can a revolution and the apocalypse? But that is kind of where we're at. So, like, what does it mean to face that and then decide what to do? And to me, like, the revolutionary always decides for the people and for life on Earth, and that we are very specific on that, even more so than, you know. Well, yeah, that's our goal, to preserve life, to see joy happen, to share this abundance, that nobody's suffering no more. All that can be done, but I think that a lot of times young people, for real rational reasons, get so depressed that they look at it almost exclusively darkly. I have young friends, and I know that that's true. So, but you know, the teen suicides and all this kind of stuff, we want to find a way to inspire and hold these young people close, and give them the revolutionary option. You know, um, and it's not a what you call a pat answer. You can't do it that way. You really gotta. It's really important that the youth learn to trust the revolutionary. You know, and that's all I want to say.
I agree. I think revolution, gives people some hope. And that's something that a lot of these kids haven't had through their life because they've grown up watching the shit show as it is emblazoned, fucking full scorched earth over here with the empirical fucking core burning the fuck down and capitalism imploding upon itself and consuming everybody in its path. And it's caused a lot of these kids to grow up revolutionary minded, but it's also caused a lot of them to feel like there ain't no fucking hope for anything, and we've got to change that. The whole point of what we're doing is so there's even still a fucking world left to live on, and hopefully under better conditions for future generations.
I think I like what Chad just said, and I think I want to go back to something also Chad said a little while ago, and I like what Andy just said. But I think too, I have confidence in our youth, and I think that they're going to surprise us. I think that even right now with what's happening with the Israeli and their attack on the people of Palestine, people aren't falling for it. You know, they're much more up, they're ready for change, and I'm loving it that they're not buying it like they would have, say, 20 years ago. Social media obviously has changed things, but the fact that they're trying to find out what side they should be on is awesome. They're not just buying their parents or their rulers, whoever is the authoritative figure who's telling them that, you know, these are the good guys and these are the bad guys. Now they're not buying that. They got that revolutionary heart and they're hungry. So we'll see what happens.
Yeah, they see through the propaganda. When they've grown up seeing so much propaganda, they're having an easier time identifying it than any previous generations ever fucking did. and they're not buying into the bullshit, especially when they've also grown up having these tools at their fingertips to be able to look things up and confirm whether something is even like a valid report of something, or if it's some bullshit being spun to twist the narrative to make it, you know, sound like the oppressor is really the oppressed, things like that. And they see right the fuck through it. And honestly, like these kids of Gen Z having grown up, seeing all of this play out and understand fully what bullshit goes on in the media and how to actually look up what's really happening and stuff, I find them inspiring. Comrade Andy, did you pop your hand back up or was that just still up?
Oh, sorry about that. I'll take it down.
Oh, okay. I just wanted to check and see if you had any other commentary. All right. Well, does anybody else have any thoughts on this? If not, we can go ahead and wrap things up. We're at about an hour and 15 minutes now. Going once?
All power to the people, yo.
All power. Thank you all for joining us
Power.
today.
Thank you.
Been another
Much
dope
love.
ass reading. All right, and tomorrow we'll be back with the UPM reading group. Reading Seize the Time. If any of you want to join us for that, it's the same link. And then we will be back on Friday for the next section of Voices of the Revolution here for 2 hours.
I think Sean raised his hand at the last moment.
I just saw it pop up. Hi, Sean. Go ahead,
I
comrade.
did. My hand is officially raised. Okay, so I just wanted to briefly address the whole Biden administration unveils new actions to combat anti-Semitism on college campuses.
Oh, good Lord.
Yeah, that is literally just like a hop, skip, and a jump from declaring all leftists and all pro-Palestine supporters as absolute terrorists and locking us all up.
Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah. They even over the weekend, I think it was, went after a bunch of college age protesters that I believe were part of the Jewish Voice for Peace. They arrested a
Oh,
bunch of
man.
Jewish kids for protesting against the Zionist occupation. And it's like, if you can't even understand why Jewish people are standing up against this, what's wrong with you? Yeah, they're trying to pretend as if being against Zionism is somehow anti-Semitic, when honestly Zionism is anti-Semitic. Palestinians are Semitic people, just as Jews are.
And that video I just posted is TV host and Professor Mark Lamont Hill during a Palestine solidarity rally over the weekend, I would imagine.
Okay.
2 days ago, actually,
You know,
in Philadelphia. Sorry.
that is going to disappear once we close out Zoom. Can you share that into our Facebook group chat, please?
I absolutely can.
Please and thank you.
Of course.
Take a look at that when we get done here.
Unicorn Riot posted that one, so
Okay, they're pretty on point. I like the work they do.
me too.
Yep.
I've liked them since Black Lives Matter.
Same. They actually give some real honest boots on the ground coverage without any
Yeah,
bullshit. I appreciate
yeah, they
that.
do. So is Riot Heart Media.
I don't think I've heard of that one. But if you
Here,
send me the link, I'll check them out.
sure, okay. Um,
All right.
all
Wonderful.
right, yeah. Zen. Oh, I help if I know how to spell Zen. They're on both Facebook and Instagram, but I find their Instagram is actually the one that gets updated.
Do I need to check my messages on Instagram then instead of
Oh,
Facebook?
no. I sent it to you on Facebook.
Oh, okay. Okay. Just
Yeah.
figured I would double check because I'm hardly ever on Instagram. I really only have it because it was like an auto link thing with Facebook when they bought it out.
Yeah. The only reason I use it is because that's where all of my revolutionaries are hiding.
Right. Oh goodness. What's up, Comrade Joe?
This message was for Comrade Che. I know we tried to touch bases over the weekend, but I had a very, very busy weekend. But I'm free now if he has time to give me a call. Hermano, aquí estoy. And
No
that's all.
problem.
And
I'll
with
give
that,
you-
all power to the people. Y'all stay strong. And we'll see. Some of us will see each other tomorrow.
Okay.
Sounds good, Comrade.
good.
All power. Love you guys.
Okay.
Yeah, revolutionary love to all.
All power.
See y'all tomorrow.
Bye.